last week you talked a little bit about this group in full, and how important it was to get to the apologies, how important it was for them to get to the tournament. I'm wondering, when you look at their ceiling collectively this year and beyond, you really haven't had one maybe since Tori and Ariel were younger players. Do you see them as a group, as you're obviously working to do something this year, but as something you want to see where they can get to overall?
I think so. I mean, we have a lot of the pieces, you know. I think there's a lot of newness out there too, you know, when you really look at the people that are playing besides Clouden, there isn't a lot of experience or we have a lot of new faces. So this has been, you know, like I said, it's a really great group to coach. They're fun to be around, easy to be around. So I think even with some of the injuries that we've had and COVID issues or whatnot, I think they've done a really good job of, you know, staying together and getting better every day. So do I think it can be that next level group? I do. I do. You know, we certainly have the opportunity to stay together for a while since we're pretty young out there in terms of, you know, who we graduated. You know, I'm excited about this group right now, but certainly the ceiling and where it can go in the future.
What has to happen for? I mean, obviously, uh, Ariel became a very special player in a previous. What is it? And Nia is sort of on that, maybe on the fringe of that level now. What does it take collectively to be at that next level group?
Well, I think we need a little more consistency from, you know, night in and night out. I think, you know, you look at Iz's team, I think that happens to them too. You know, you have kind of Nia's, for the most part, been pretty consistent all year long, obviously. But like we haven't had the consistency out of that second and third. So I think when you really look at those teams that I had that were extremely successful, you could count on, they were a very dependable group. Like every night, this person's getting this or some version of that. And then your second and third player, you know, were really stepping up. They were, you know, like I said, I always say Batman and Robin, but you look at some of the top teams in the league, and that scoring piece of consistent scoring, I think, is something we got to get collectively out of Nia, and certainly then out of, you know, other kids at second and third. I think when you look at the top teams in the country, they always have kind of two very, very consistent offensive players. And we had that with Tori and Ariel for many years. And then we had some nice pieces as well, like Hines and people inside and defensive players and certainly, you know, point guards and things. So yeah, I do. I think this is a group that can get there. I just think we need some consistency in that second and third scoring and sometimes even Nia.
We'll go now over to Brian Calloway.
Suzy, I know the season's kind of been a little interesting for Tori Osmond, but what do you like maybe about where she's at right now, and how important is she too, especially with, you know, Julia kind of still being on the day-to-day realm?
Yeah, she's big. She's a huge part of, you know, what we have to do here in this postseason. I think, you know, as I mentioned before, maybe adjusting our offense to have a little more fluidity to it allowed her to play multiple positions, which she kind of has done that in the past for us. But I think with her, you know, being out with COVID, then coming back and trying to get her legs back, like you mentioned, she's a big part of what we do. I mean, she's a very versatile kid. She's a really good defender. She's smart. You know, she can certainly run and transition. You see, she really puts pressure on defense with her transition offense. So, and she comes from a great program, high school program, that kid knows how to play the game, you know. So I think she's starting to get a lot of confidence out there, and you know, we need that from her, as you mentioned, with Julia potentially being day to day here.
And, you know, just to follow up, I mean, you talked about the consistency piece, and, you know, Eliza's certainly been, you know, one of the big parts of that. But what have you kind of seen from her behind the scenes, as, you know, she's, you know, kind of navigated being on the court a lot more, but also kind of gone through the, you know, ups and downs this year?
Yeah, I think she recognizes, you know, I think everybody wants the, you know, that role of being a scorer or being the go-to person or part of that realm with Nia. And then you get it, and then there's like a different expectation, you know, and I think kids just having to live with that and understand that they do have to perform for our team to win. That's a different feel than like I just did to go out there and play and be part of it, you know. And I think Eliza with her freshman year, where, you know, we had some veteran seniors and whatnot, she didn't play as much her freshman year. This is kind of like her true freshman year. I think her consistency, when she scores the ball and is confident and plays the way we know she can and the way she can, I think our team just gets a lot of juice from that, you know, and it takes a lot of pressure off of Nia. cloud. And really, like in that second half of our last game at home, I mean, the reason why we won that game was because certainly for a lot of reasons, but Eliza's performance was one of them. You know, I think she was 0 for 4 at halftime and came out in that second half and really connected and pushed the envelope and got us going on offense.
We'll go next to Tony Paul.
Hey, Suzy.
Hey, Tony.
I guess just, stepping away from the actual on-court stuff, but obviously you all miss the fans. But outside of the fans, what have you missed most from this season, this weird year?
Gosh, that's a good question. I just think, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I would definitely go with the fans because I think there's so much to what these kids do that they've missed out on. You know, with regards to energy and why they play the game for the people that root them, you know, cheer them on and root for them. I think just the normalcy, like the lack of, even though you talked about flexibility and understanding that you're going to have to do that this year, Tony, I think still the uncertainty on day to day is something that just it's hard to settle in. You know, you never feel comfortable, I guess. But you know, I guess if I had to say it, it was just maybe more the uncertainty and then the lack of whether it be their parents. I mean, there was a time here at Michigan State where we had no fans for a long time, so their parents couldn't even come watch them play. So that for me, just being a mom, I know that would be hard for me not to see my kid play. I think the parent piece was a hard thing when we didn't have any fans. And then I would just say the uncertainty, you know, it gets exhausting kind of, you know. I'm sure everybody on this call can feel that way in your own worlds. You guys are probably over the social media, not being able to go places and do things and the testing just to get in, and it's just crazy times.
Is it, and just a quick follow-up, but has this year been, you said it's been exhausting, but has it been as fun still being around and coaching as it would be in a normal year, or is it just everything kind of has taken that away a little bit?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I would say it's been more fun, even though there's been some craziness to it. And I will tell you the main reason is we get to coach with them every day, all day, extra workouts. Like, you are really, truly a coach because they took recruiting off the table. And when we're not racing to get out of a practice to get to a high school game, I mean, you really got to invest in just your team this year for the most part. And that was really enjoyable. So I think if I had to say why we got into this was to get on the court with them and watch kids get better and make them better and work on their individual skills and bring a team together and all the things that we love about it. Sometimes at this level, sadly, they kind of move down the rung when you're looking at, you know, recruiting and speaking engagements and events and all the things that go with our jobs outside of, you know, just our team. So on some bizarre level, I think all of us were just talking about how much fun it's been to be in the gym with our kids for a long period of time and watch them get better as a group and individually. You're welcome.
Go now over to Ian Kress.
Hey, Suzy, throughout the season, has there ever been, doubt or just kind of worry that you wouldn't get to this point of, you're going to the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament?
No, I felt like in the beginning, yes, actually. In the beginning, like November, December, and when we started to see teams shut down for periods of time, and then kind of a little bit in January when the men went through it and we went through a little of that, I was like, uh-oh, are we ever going to get there? But then once the vaccine started to come out, I would say that you feel like a little more comfortable. And you knew the NCAA was pushing, obviously, to have the postseason, and the Big Ten tournament was going to happen. So I think there was a stretch in like December, January, where I was kind of like, oh man, are we even going to get to the finish line at this point? When you saw all the games across the country, postponed, canceled, delayed, whatever. I was a little worried then, but I feel like we've kind of settled in through the month of February and kind of have a good perspective of where we're at and ramped up our testing. So, just to make sure. And so, yeah, there was a little bit of little doubt in me in December and January.
And I kind of want to ask about the news with Nia yesterday being named to the first team. What has she meant to this team, and how is she going to be? I know this is kind of an obvious question, but how is she going to be an important role for you guys this
Yeah. Well, I mean, your team is led by your best players, and when your best players are playing well, everybody kind of feeds off of that. And certainly, Nia's someone that's going to have to step up. And I've single-handedly watched kids in her role like take our team to places we've never been before, or over victories over teams that maybe we shouldn't have won at the time. So I think those kids are very important. She's got to have a little edge to her, certainly something to prove, and continue to play the way we know that she can play, but play with confidence and toughness. When she does that, I feel like we have a really good opportunity to win games.
And next we'll go to Eli.
Hi Suzy. The last time when you guys were able to play Penn State, there was a lot of like the unknowns with that team, with that roster kind of shuffling, and then now when you got to play them again, do you kind of have like a better feeling of kind of what you're kind of getting into? What do you kind of think about that matchup, considering you're able to play them again?
Yeah, I think well, I don't know how much has really changed in terms of the style they play. I mean, they kind of play a positionless. They shoot a ton of threes. They were shooting a ton of threes when we played them the first time. And if that ball drops and we can't get to that 3-point line, I mean, you're certainly in trouble. I think they space the floor really well. They have a bunch of different defenses, so preparing for them, you got to kind of make sure you get through the things that they do. They have a couple different presses. They have different zones. They can man you, they can junk you, they can ball screen defense a lot of different ways. So I think they're a tough draw on some levels, because I do think that when people run the way they run and shoot the three ball the way they do, I mean, that can keep you in a lot of games, certainly. And then obviously their multiple defensive scheme as well.
And then Julie, I know last time we talked, she was still kind of in that day-to-day spot. Do you have any update on her heading into the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, not right now. I mean, she's starting to do some things, but she hasn't been 100% cleared as of today from what our trainer told me this morning. But she's starting to do a little bit more, which is good.
Thanks, Suzy.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll go over to Fred.
Yep, can hear you, Fred. Now can't hear you.
Now you're muted.
Now you're muted. There you go.
I don't always clean up for Zoom calls. I'll start next.
It's okay.
First of all, I don't know how long it takes for a coach to trust a team. I imagine every team and every year is different. But are you where you are with this team? Whether you win or lose, do you trust what they're going to give you yet?
I do, actually. I want to say we had some up and downs a little bit here and there, consistency-wise in terms of every quarter. We'd win 3 of the 4 or, that kind of thing. But I do feel like we're settling in, even though we've had some injuries and kids that we're playing that kind of are in and out a little bit and hampered us at some point. But I think for the most part, I feel really good about this team. And, I think as many minutes and as deep as we've played our roster through November, December, January has really helped us for March. And so early on it was hard to trust them because you didn't know we were playing so many people, but now you've kind of settled in and we have kind of our core group of people and they've been very consistent in the way they've performed for the most part. So I feel good about us right now, Fred, I really do.
Secondly, this is a follow-up to what Tony was asking you, and it's hard to do in 45 seconds, but I think tomorrow is the anniversary of the first COVID case, and this is when everything shut down about a year ago. Just your reflections, if you can, as a coach, what the last year has been like in this COVID era.
Yeah, actually I remember 1 year ago, because today's March 9th, right? This was the day isn't this the day that the NBA shut it down? What?
I believe it is.
Yeah. So that night, so I remember when they were talking about COVID cases, and we were getting ready to go do a home visit on a kid because the women's tournament was the week before. At that time, we had just missed kind of the second week when things kind of started to ramp up. So we were getting ready to go, and Michigan State had put a travel ban on leaving campus, and just because we had just sort of heard what was going on, you started to hear things. So thinking back to that moment, standing in the hallway of, do we go, do we not go, and then being kind of pulled to be told that we couldn't leave, to where we are now, I think you just have a little bit of gratitude and appreciation for how quickly life can change. And I would say when I look back on it too, and maybe this is a little more personal, I don't know how other people feel, but I think we were kind of as a society sometimes getting a little out of control with having to go, and we weren't really present in the moments that we were living. And I'm one that would definitely put myself in that category, you know, and it really, I think it gave us a time out that we needed to recognize what's important in life. And I love this game and I love my job, but that isn't really who I am. And I think at this level, sometimes you can lose perspective in that. And I think it was a really good opportunity to kind of check yourself as a human being and certainly look around and build better relationships, just even with my family and my boys, or whoever, your parents. You know, it just gives you a different perspective. And so looking back at a year, I love the fact we get to play. I love the fact that we've been able to invest in just our own team. But I also think that it's given us all a perspective that maybe the society was in need of.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go back to Tony.
That was pretty deep for a 9:47.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate you.
Just, again, a little off topic here, but the men's team, I know you kept it all close, and it is over close. And, a couple of weeks ago, when they were down and out, did you have any talks with them, or, did you, what was going on there? And I guess, yeah, did you have any talks with them, and what did you guys talk about?
Yeah, we've pretty consistently had these little mini therapy sessions. You know, we park right next to each other out there, so I always cut through the men's side. So I always check in, and like I feel like we start almost every day with a good 20, 30 minutes, sometimes longer, depending on what's going on. And you know, I say this all the time about these jobs, and it's not like any big deal, but sometimes you feel like even though there's thousands of people in the stands and everybody, you do feel kind of alone at times as the head coach. So when you have someone that kind of is going through it, and I know, Coach Tucker and Coach D, when he was here, like everybody was really close, but I think basketball is such a long season, and there's so many games and so many factors and so much going on with distractions now. I think just being able to connect with another head coach is something that, we both just kind of appreciate about each other. And there's just not a lot of men's coaches that probably don't even know who the women's coach is half the time, at their schools. So, we got a special one in his, but I do think that, we both sit in the same seat. And everybody thinks it's a great seat to sit in, and it is. But those 6 inches from an assistant to a head coach it's a really long trip. So I think for us, when he was going through that, and when I've been going through some stuff too, just calling on the phone or talking or, connecting in the office is something we definitely do quite a bit and just bounce things off of.
Well, I would imagine you're one of the few people in the Michigan State sports world who didn't doubt that they could do what they did.
Oh, yeah. Didn't doubt. I mean, Izzo's always one that can find a way to get it done, so it's unfortunate now so many people put it out there, on the social media. People are just ruthless. Like, it's exhausting. You got to stop even looking at it after a while, and I always worry about the kids. Like, I mean, when they're going after the student athlete, that bothers me. I mean, we get paid to people come after us, but sometimes the stuff that you see and read, and it's just like, I hope so-and-so didn't look at that, because, man, that's pretty brutal. People can be really brutal and mean nowadays, and so I think you got that outside pressure, the expectation here, but, one thing about Izzo is, like, he's connected to his guys, and whenever you're connected to your guys, you can find a way to get it done, and it's not surprising that, they ended up where they're at and have an opportunity to play in the postseason now.
Thanks, Suzy.
All right, we've got time for one more question, so we'll go to Graham.
Suzy, I mean, it sounds like at the end of this all, you'll be pretty grateful and there'll be a lot of positive feelings about this season regardless, but what would make you feel satisfied and good for this group this week and next? What do you want to see from them? What do you want them to experience and find that would leave you going into the off season feeling like, boy, that really feels good?
Yeah. I think the consistency piece on the court of just having a little, not playing 3/4 or 3.5. Like, let's play 4 quarters every single game. Like, we got to start transitioning to that. And you're going to have moments in a game where things don't go your way, but we can't let the bottom fall out and then come back and fight back, or we can't be ahead and then let the bottom fall out either, right? So I think just building that consistency for us this postseason is something that, I really want to see out of our team on the offensive end and certainly defensively too. And being able to put strings of games together. We certainly have a tough matchup in Penn State, and then an opportunity. We want to go down there and win it like everybody. So that's an ultimate goal. But I think you always have to just win the possession that you're in, and that's kind of what I want to see our kids really take seriously. Every single possession, offense and defensively, because as you know, you've been doing it long enough that it does matter this time of year. One possession that you kind of mess up, you think back, man, if I wouldn't have had that, or if I would have made that free throw. So just having consistency, I think, out of our group, quarter to quarter, game to game, will be something that I really want to see our team put together.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for getting out of bed. And,
Sorry, everybody.
And I will be sending Zoom links out per game, so that's how we'll do that for Mickey as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.